What's up, everybody? It's Guy Costin, founder and CEO of Dakota, and we're here to talk about our newest book called Be Kind. And I am joined by Catherine Beezer, Morgan Holy Cross, and Dominique, and what I want to talk about today is the origin story of Be Kind and the leadership. And you guys were there. You guys essentially, were at the birth of it. Mm-hmm. And as the story goes, we founded the firm in 2011, created the Dakota Way. I made my new mission in life to help other people get what they want out of life. That was 2011. And then we really had a locker room type sort of culture. You know what I mean? Because it was Tracy Rogers and 10 male salespeople running around the country raising money. And, I'd had a lot of impatient moments with the boys and everything. And then we started our database business in 2018, 2019, and we started expanding the group, right? And so what happened is, as I say, as soon as we hired Catherine, her dad is my college roommate, and Dominique, her stepfather, was a high school classmate of mine, and I love the mothers, right, their moms. And I realized is that the locker room mentality really had to end in 2020.
And thank God.
Is that I didn't want all the stuff coming back, right, to the kitchen table. Not that they would go tattletale or anything like that, but I just didn't feel it was any more really appropriate. I really didn't want to freak out any of the wives, if you will, Andrea and Nancy. So not to mention, Morgan a little bit later, right? That came a little bit after, but Morgan, knowing her father as long as I've known him, wouldn't be really good if all of a sudden I was basically an ass or what have you. Or a jerk or demeaning or anything like that. And then it got back to Mike or anyone else. I think he'd drive to Philly and chop my head off. So I figured it was just easier, right? But it's really neat because that really is define the culture of kindness, where it's the defining sort of point of the book is permission, right? And if you just give yourself permission to say whatever you want, it's not a great way to be, right? Yeah. And so that became the origin story of the transfer in terms of culture of Guy, meaning me, being able to permission myself to say whatever I want to say or not say. And then I really started being very, very conscientious and judicious with my words. Not so much that I was a real jerk, but, with the boys, I could just say anything. It was actually even kind of a little bit fun because it was kind of like, are you kidding me? Just, explosions and stuff like that, which we still have hard conversations, right? It's not like we're nice. We're not sitting there running around, kumbaya, nicey. I mean, everyone's challenged every day, which is a good thing, but done with incredible kindness and respect.
Agreed.
And that's the whole. And so today, and this little episode is really about the origin story, because I wanted to show you all the team, right, and really where it happened when Catherine and Dom came on board. It really put me in a position of like a straitjacket, right, where I couldn't have permission anymore. And I didn't really want to be seen as a leader like that, where you'd come back and be complaining about me, and so how I treat people or how I do things or I say things. It's much more about the words. And that really catapulted, it was that line of demarcation. That was like the end of the old and the beginning of the new. And that's what we really document in the book, and how I live, I've had to live it. So I don't consider this a leadership book in terms of, Ivory Tower. I talk this all the time. I call it lessons learned, right? Because I'm not perfect in any way, shape, or form. Always trying to get better. But the origin story, and the reason I want to celebrate these three, is because when they joined, it basically, was the beginning of the old leadership style, if you will, and the permissions that I would give myself to the new. So, Thanks all for joining. This little excerpt of the book, Be Kind. It comes out in February, and we can't wait for you all to get a signed copy. And with that, thanks for joining me. And it's another episode of the Be Kind Leadership Book.